Hey, welcome back. This is Homefront Harvest Devblog number 2. You can go to the channel and watch the first one if you like. It's an introduction to the game, sort of the philosophy behind the game. This game starts on the first day of spring in 1916 in a small American town. So it's located in a spot in time, and the goings on of what's happening in the world will actually come into play in the town. Eventually, the world war that's going on will make an impact into the lives of the town people in this farming and community simulator. So if you're interested in that, follow along with this devblog. Please like and subscribe. If you're interested in game development with the Godot game engine, I'll also be showing you some code for the game. I'm going to take time right now and show you where I am, essentially the functionality that I've implemented so far. So you can see I have a player walking around. I think I showed you that last time, but maybe not in Godot. I have this kind of distracting right now testing thing on the side, which shows me the frames per second, the memory being used, the position on the map of the player, sort of the input vectors, which way the player is facing. So the input vector is which way the player is facing, and just helps with debugging stuff. The state is actually hoeing or watering or attacking or dodging. I can water the ground. Actually, so the hoeing implementation, I need to add clothes to the player when they hoe. Haven't done that yet. Then I have seconds, minutes, hours, and days. So that's just testing out that my time system that I will be implementing over the next week. And we'll have implemented by the next devblog, is actually functional and works. So this is the game as it is. I can, I have collision working. I can collide with this house, and so this is it. This is the game so far. Some progress on the game, and let me dive into what I've done in Godot and show you some of that work. Okay, so this is my setup in Godot. I have my main world. I think other people usually call this main, but I called it world. You can pan over it, take a look at the collision objects. Let's see, I need to put the dirt cliff back in the Y sort so that it will work correctly. I didn't mean to do that. I need to delete that. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll put one there, actually. All right, that's fine. So, okay, so I have these backgrounds. I'm not looking at them. I'm not using them. They were just testing. I have my dirt path, also not using. This dirt is essentially the world. So I probably should just make the world this dirt, but that's what it is for now. On this dirt script, so under YSort, which is helping me allow me to see objects in front or behind. So if I walk behind this grass, it'll show correctly. I collide with the house, I can walk in front or behind the house. I have my protagonist, and the protagonist has the move, roll, attack states, different states for what they can do. A lot of this is covered in the YouTuber Heartbeast's Godot series, so you should check that out if you want to get started. I have other objects, bushes. I have the grid helper, which you saw, which was just showing where I can plant and water and hoe for my player. I use code to make sure that the grid helper stays with the player, and I'll show you that code. That code lives on the dirt level, which extends the tile map. I load my constants file just so I have access to some of the constants that I want to store. I get variables for the player object and the grid helper object. For the grid helper, I essentially, this grid.modulate changes the transparency, so it's a little bit transparent. I get the tile position in front of the player. Now this comes from YouTuber Small Naps, his series on making a Stardew Valley like game. That's where a lot of the impetus for this came from. I had to modify his code a bit to get it to work for me. And I'm actually not sure why I needed to modify the code. I had trouble getting it working, but what I'm doing here is you find the tile position in front of the player. That's the player's global position. And then if that player isn't facing 0, 0, essentially if that face direction isn't starting off just in the null position, then what I'm going to do is move that grid helper. So the problem that I had is the grid helper, that little box that I showed you, was just sitting on top of the player, and it looked really wrong. And I'm not sure I have it in the right spot exactly yet. But what I do is I multiply the face direction, which is the face direction is the last of the input vector. So what happens here is the input vector is the way that you're facing, but I save in a face direction, like the input vector is changing too much, so I save the last position of the input vector as a face direction. And this seemed to work okay. So this is my time system. I'm not showing you that. So the dirt, let's see. So again, go back here. I needed to find which way the player is facing so that I could put the tile in the right spot, is essentially what this is doing. I just made a new variable called vec, which takes this position, and you have to put it on the map. So I guess in the world, that's the global position in the world. But on the map specifically, this is the tile that you want to put the grid on. So that's how I got the grid helper working. Then for what's interesting is this isn't attached to the player, it's attached to the dirt tile maps, because I'm acting on the tile map itself. So if the action that I'm doing is hoeing or watering, and I save those through the project settings input map, if I hoe or water, so I've attached these keys to hoe and water, then I'm going to till, so I get the grid position. So where I'm going to till is where the grid is, not where the player is, where that grid position is. So I get the cell that's there, and if it's dry dirt, so I can't do it to the grass that's outside, so I can't do it on the cliffs. So I get the cell, and then I set the cell by the dirt hoed name. So I needed to set up this tile map first, and I hope this isn't too confusing. So here's the tiles in the tile map, right? So you set up your tile map with these tiles, and then when I go to say edit this thing, you can see here the tile map that these tiles have specific keys, right? So dry dirt is 0, and dry, whatever is the name. And so I'm saying if in the code, if the tile that the grid is on matches the dry dirt, right? So if what you're hoeing is dry dirt here, if the cell that the grid is on is dry dirt, then you can set the cell to be the hoed dirt, right? So otherwise, what I do is I print this information to the console. I say you can't do that. And so similar to water, except to water, you can water dry dirt or you can water hoed dirt. So I say if the cell is in these, is either of these, so if the cell value is either of those, otherwise it's bad. So essentially, actually, you can see those print statements, and I'll load up the game, and you can watch. Okay, so here's the map again. So watch, I'm moving around, and then I water, and that's fine. But now I go onto the grass, and I try to hoe or water, and so it's giving me these print statements that I had here. So it says like bad tile to hoe, and then I give the position of the map, which is till, and then the value of that. So actually this is number 10 cell that you're on. So this 10 here corresponds with the tile map tiles. So this is just, giving you some information for how to so 10 is what? 10 should be, this dirt is just grass, so I can't do it. So that's how I built up the tile system. Now I'm just starting off on the time system and following along with small map and what he's doing. And essentially, there was a YouTuber for Game Maker called Friendly Cosmonaut, I believe, and she also in Game Maker has a great time system set up. So the ideas are the same. That is actually the second. That is the fundamental time unit. So you build up things in seconds, right? So if you have in here, these are this delta is a second or a piece of a second, and what you do is I'm not going to have like pieces of seconds. I'm just taking the nearest second, and I have a time speed which speeds up time, which is why time was going so fast for me. But this is essentially, the start of a new day. You start at second 1. Your day is incremented. If it's the end of the month, so 28 days in a month, then you increment the month. You start off at day 1. If it's month 5, meaning this is trying to be the 5th month, we actually increment the year, and then we go to the first of the month. So this is a basic time system. So next, let me just give you some more background on the game and where it's going, and let's dive into that. So here I use Trello for the organization of tasks that I need to do. I have a doing and done board. So what's nice is essentially getting through tasks here in the done board. My doing prototype farming system. This is a little too vague, right? So I need to expand on that. What I've been doing is getting some feedback from Reddit in terms of the kinds of farming that we'll have in the game. So including cross-breeding, the potential for blight on some crops, poor or good soil conditions, and then more irrigation options. So getting a lot of good feedback in terms of what kinds of things the player might want to do. So a lot of inspiration from there. Then I've started Homefront Harvest Substack. So this is a newsletter. If you want to join, just head over to homefrontharvest.substack.com. And then finally, using Fiverr, which is this place where you can order items from artists and different people to make some concept art. And so here is one potential character in the game. So just the beginning of some of the concept art here. So that's it. Otherwise, just getting some inspiration from being out in nature, exploring things with the kids, and just reflecting on what I could do to make this a really intensive, unique, emerging gaming experience, farming, and also, put some historical context into it. I didn't talk to any of that history today, or the books that will influence this game, but so that'll be a focus of another Devblog. So again, if you do like these videos, if you want to continue seeing things, let me know what you're interested in seeing as part of this game development journey. The history that will incorporate the gaming, experience. You can sign up. Stay tuned. Subscribe to this channel. Join the Substack, homefrontharvest.substack.com, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.